go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Back in the lab, back in the home studios today after a show yesterday at Benchmark International Arena. Another win for our Tampa Bay Lightning. That's 666. Count them in the row. 6 in a row. 6. They just keep crushing it. That's just the way it goes. 21-1 in their last 22 games. These guys are just freaking unbelievable right now. And I didn't even think they played their best game, to be honest with you. We'll talk more Lightning hockey with our pal Eric. Eric was yesterday. Eddie's today. Ed Encina, 1:30 today from the Tampa Bay Times. We'll chat with him. What a performance from the Bolts last night. Andrei Vasilevsky, Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Gage Gonsalves, Charles-Edouard Astou. Nuts. Freaking nuts. Unfreaking believable. I'll answer this question real quick. David C. 2394. Were there any scouts at the game last night? There was representatives from 7 different teams. I didn't post them. Because there was other games where it was 11, 12. I didn't think it was as many, but there was 7 different teams in attendance last night at Benchmark International Arena for that game. And who knows? It may not just be for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It could be for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. We'll talk some more Toronto in the 1 o'clock hour as well, because if you're Auston Matthews, why the hell would you want to continue to play in Toronto? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Guys, I got to get those subscriptions up. My followers have gone up on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok exponentially these last couple of weeks. But the subscribers on YouTube, that is the most important thing. That's where the bread is buttered. I need subscriptions, please. Please share this on your social media platforms. Let your friends, your family, your mailman, your dentist, everybody know. Everybody's saying, Recher podcast. Subscribe. Also, the super chats, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you guys can do to contribute to the program. Every little bit helps. And of course, our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Evara Health. The Evara Health Injury Report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez is today at 12:30. If you want to be a partner on the program, reach out to me on social media. We can get you on board, get you signed to a contract, and you can be part of the program as well. Another great show for you guys today. We're going to tip off, and we're going to jump off in a big way at 12:10. Izaiyah Nelson is going to join us, the big man, the monster in the middle for USF basketball. He joins us at 12:10 today. I mentioned this on the program yesterday. USF needed to show us something. Do not go into Texas and do not fumble against a team, to use a football term. Do not fumble against a Rice team that has really struggled in the American this year. No struggles, no issues whatsoever. Brian Hodgson's crew went out there, took care of business, and the man in the middle, he has been fantastic all year long. He, I would say, is the front runner for the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year, Izaiyah Nelson. Unfreaking believable. 24 points last night. 20th win of the season. 7-time in program history that the Bulls have reached that milestone. They're 20-8 overall. They're 12-3 in the American. 6 straight win, 2-game lead atop the American Conference, and can clinch at least a share of the regular season title by defeating Tulane at home on Sunday. I will more than likely be in attendance on Sunday at the Yuengling Center. So if you want to get there, go to gousfbulls.com, go get some tickets and support the boys. That could be a huge, huge night. I remember being there when the Bulls clinched the regular season championship when Amir Abdur-Rahim was there, and it was one of the most memorable moments in Tampa Bay sports history because, and even looking back at it now with Amir no longer with us and Michael Kelly, moving on to Navy. So neither one of those guys are here anymore. But just so excited. So excited. Cannot wait for that. Again, Sunday, pack the YC at noon and support our Bulls. All right. So Izaiyah will join us at 12:10. At 12:30, the injury report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. At 1 o'clock, and we're hearing some different things. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago with Kenyon Sadiq as the tight end. I know some people have been talking about including my guy Nick Wise from WDAE talking about Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, if he was there at 15. I don't think he will be there at 15, but would you be okay with the Buccaneers drafting an offensive player at that spot in the first round? We'll discuss that at 1 o'clock. And then at 1:15, before we get to Ed Encina at 1:30, we got to talk about this whole Auston Matthews thing. My God. Did you see this article written yesterday? Or, excuse me, last night? Talking about stripping the captaincy off of Auston Matthews. It's amazing. The Toronto Star, Damian Cox last night. It's got over 2.2 million views just on Twitter alone. So if you're trying to get people riled up and interested in your conversation, I guess they did a good job. But if you're Auston Matthews, just like you just saw your good buddy Mitch Marner like get run out of town, like it's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable to play there. The media is just bashing you all the time. The fans don't make you feel welcome. It's the vibe is not great in Toronto right now. And you can say whatever you want about Auston Matthews and how he looked last night. Nobody looked particularly clean and crisp last night. That's what happens after a long layoff. And if you want to blame anything for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you blame the management, blame the defense. And their defense the Lightning were going through those guys like a hot knife through butter. I said that the other day. They're like a sieve back there. The middle of the ice is wide open. How's that Auston Matthews' fault? He had 3 blocked shots last night. You tell me that guy wasn't trying? Get bent. Benny, big boisterous beat down by the boys in blue. Go Bolts. That's a lot of bees, man. I know you love your alliteration. Point and Nikita look fantastic. We're back. And even the Lightning were a little sloppy. 2 goals brought back because of offsides. Just that's the lack of crispness. It happens. It happens. Janet Best, the Bolts just keep doing their thing. You got that right, my friends. Lightning are off the charts tonight. Is going to be a hard one against Carolina, though. Yeah, definitely not easy against Carolina. They play a good, honest game with Rod Brindamore. Very tight defensively. You'll probably see Jonas Johansson in that game. Again, no Anthony Cirelli. Coach Rob Zettler mentioned that to us yesterday after morning skate. Good to see Braden Point back out there. Good to see Charles Edouard Bastu and Emil Lilleberg back there. I don't anticipate a change to the lineup. I think they'll rock with the same 11 and 7 that they did last night. A little bit of a switch up front when they put Gonsalves with Point and Kucherov. That's not what we saw during pregame warmups. So a little bit of a curveball thrown by the assistant coaches, which I thought was pretty funny. Louis, supposedly the Patriots are going to heavily pursue Mike Evans. Somebody should show Mike Evans 42 inches of snow. We just got Louis. Just take pictures of your house and just start posting them on social media and tagging him in it. Massachusetts taxes are nuts. Bart Hill's in the house. What up, Jay Bird? Good luck, Mike. I hope he goes somewhere else and kills the Bucks. Are going nowhere with Todd Blows. Never had a chance. Not a Todd Bowles fan. Thank you for beating Lease. Greg DeCruz, not happy. Jeremy Lowe in the house. What up, Jay? Fun game last night. Pointer looked sharp being back. And again, Coach Rob Zettler let us know after morning skate today or yesterday. He said Point is flying. He is flying. He is ready to go. And he certainly looked like it. My man was not messing around last night. And when you go through what you've gone through with that young man for the last couple of weeks, getting so close, trying to grind, trying to get back and represent your country in the Olympics, and then in the 19th hour, you got to bow out because you're not 100%. That's just something that's going to live with him for the rest of his career. I was anticipating. There was smart money last night. It was to put on Braden Point scoring a goal. I mean, that guy was skating like it was the first time he ever got a chance to play in the NHL. It was legit. More Lightning talk a little bit later on the program, but I told you guys when we started things off today, we were going to start the show big. We're going to start off with a bang. He is what I like to call the monster in the middle for our USF Bulls, Izaiyah Nelson in the house. What's up, big man? How are you?
What's going on, man? I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, not as good as you, man. 24 points last night against Rice. You guys are just maintaining. The Bulls did not lose a game in the month of February. I
Yes,
just
sir.
somebody posted that. I'm like, yo, this team is grinding. They're doing their thing. Zay, I talked to Coach Hodgson about 2 weeks ago on the show, and I told him, the ups and downs, and he was not happy with the performance against Temple. He said, Jay, we got punked. And you could tell he was like sitting with them. But the thing that he told me, he said, Jay, I just want these guys to peak in late February and early March. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. Tell us, what is it about this team now that is so different than, let's say, a month, 6 weeks ago?
Just the dedication and the hard work. Like to piggyback off of what you said, Coach B had during that Temple game, we knew we were supposed to win that game, and the simple fact that we walked out of there with the L, it just put like more of a thing on our shoulder and like a weight on us saying like that we knew we should have won and we know we got to get better, but this is the time that that was the game to say like, all right guys, like let's start. It's starting to add up because like it's getting close to the end of the season, and we have a lot of seniors this year, a couple seniors this year, and it's their last year, and so it's just like we all know what we want to accomplish at the end of the year. So we working hard to get to that.
CJ is really the only guy. I mean, I know Deontay's there, but redshirt and dealing with the injury, but CJ is the only guy that was suiting up for this team regularly last year and contributing this year on the floor. And one of the things that I've been able to kind of learn is you coming over with Joe, with Coach Hodgson. There's so many different backgrounds, so many different people from all over the place. What was that like when it wasn't going so well for you guys and you just kind of losing some of those tough games? And the process is tough. I know the Navy SEALs training and the practices, and I know how detail oriented coach is. What were those conversations like with you and Joe and some of your teammates of like, hey, and I know we hear this a lot because of the Sixers all these years ago, trust the process, trust the process. Were those difficult conversations to have? Was it tough to keep guys kind of on board, or was it just kind of part of that process where it's going to be tough before it gets good?
Nah, yeah. I would say like even before like all the guys got here into Tampa, like we all once they all like arrived and we all got it as in a whole, that we all had like me and Joe told them like from the beginning, like before we even started our first official practice and all those things, we had told them saying, hey y'all, like Coach B, like he runs his stuff very, very strict and it's very hard. And it's going to be very tough, and it's like, and y'all got to be willing to take that. Like any questions that y'all have, like y'all could just come to me and Joe, and we'll help you guys and navigate you guys to saying like if Coach B was to tell us to do this or do that, we'll help them out and say like, hey, this is what he's meaning by this, or this is what he's meaning by this. And so like all the guys was just like, they all have that mindset of like, I'm going to work hard. And since he has two guys that came and followed him, like these are people that he trusts fully. And so they felt like they can trust in me and Joe to help them out, even when they're having troubles and things like that.
I love that. Starting before the season. I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's tough when it's in the middle of the season already, but before that, to kind of set that foundation, that groundwork is a beautiful thing. Last night, watching the game and then seeing Joe get the hard hat. Bro, it's like so many different guys. Like usually there's teams where it's just one guy or two guys. It's like there's so many different guys that put together that TNT, those blue collar points. What does that say about your crew that it's not always just you? It's not just one guy or two guys or three guys. It's like everybody's willing to get on the floor for loose balls. Everybody's willing to pick up steals and blocks and rebound. And what does that say about your club as a whole, that it's not just a makeup of a few guys, but it's seemingly the entire team?
That just says that we're all willing to do the dirty work. Like all the guys that coach recruited, like we all have that. We all have a story and we all have a why. And so coach tells us like y'all why and should be the reasoning of why y'all should be doing the take no talent stuff. And so it's just like our life playing basketball. We would say a lot of people would say it's hard, but having to wake up at 5 a.m. and then not getting off till five in the afternoon, like that's something hard. Like we're just going out here to play the sport that we love and that God has blessed us with the talent to do. And so it's just like we're not willing to take nothing for granted. And so we just all have a group of 15 guys saying like, hey, like whatever it takes to win, like we're willing to do it. So if that's getting on the floor, going to make hustle plays, blocking shots, rebounding very hard, doing all the little things, like we're all willing to do it.
It's funny because I coach baseball, and I can't tell you how many times I use the phrase "you got to do the little things." Because
Mhm.
if you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves.
Yes, sir.
Which is it's a beautiful thing. When I had Wes on last week, I said, "Do you have shooting competitions with Joe?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're out there. We kind of do things, and Coach puts us in spots." And I go, "Who else tries to get in on there?" He goes, Zabe trying to get in there too, trying to shoot. what what is it like to have two sharpshooters like that? And then just tell us about you trying to get in there, or somebody else trying to. I mean, these guys are just chucking them up, and it's not just chucking them up, and they're making them. What is it like in that camaraderie with the group when you have two lethal shooters like that on the outside?
Man, it's amazing. It's amazing to have those two guys like coming from Arkansas State with Joe and him doing like the same thing. So it's just like I was expecting Joe to be that same kind of shooter, and then adding West to it, him coming in from a D2, not knowing really too much about him, but just seeing him like just the day he's put his foot into Tampa, being in the gym every single day, working like getting up like probably like 1,000 threes a day and just shooting. And then seeing that and then coming to the games and just seeing him spark the ball just as good as Joe is just like
Mhm.
it's like amazing. And then it helps everybody else get open. So it helps CJ get down, be able to get downhill. It helps Joe to get downhill. It helps me get a little couple push shots and a couple layups here and there. And so it's just like having those guys on the court at the same time too, it just helps everybody on the court a lot.
It's funny. I was watching a game a couple of weeks ago. You guys won, and you didn't have your best game. And all of a sudden, they're like, "Well, Izaiyah Nelson, he's got 9 points and 9 rebounds." And I'm like, "He's having a bad game. He almost has a double double." Like I feel like sometimes you roll out of bed and you already have 5 rebounds. What is it? What is it about you? Because I'm fascinated with rebounding. I don't know why it is. I grew up in the '90s with the Knicks and Charles Oakley and Charles Smith and those guys, and they took rebounding so serious. And I remember watching videos of Dennis Rodman, and he talked about how he used to watch guys miss shots, how they would miss shots, whether they would miss short, they would miss long, there'd be high caroms off of the rim there. What has made you such a functional rebounder? Because I think a lot of it has to do with the physicality, but I think there's a mentality to it. There's also, like I said, there's kind of like a technical ability to it. What makes you such a good rebounder?
I would say, like you said, Dennis Rodman, saying that he used to watch the guys miss shots. So like I've watched Joe miss, like when Joe's doing a shooting workout or any of the guys doing a shooting workout, I just tend to watch and just sit there and just watch them shoot and just see how like what their shot's going to do, like where this going on from the right side, from the middle, from the left side. And so now we're all close, only got 3 games to the end of the season, and so the whole season just seeing them and all the misses that they have attempted is just now I have it's like I have like a little connection to them. Like if I know you finna shoot the ball, I can guarantee it's either gonna go in or it's gonna go somewhere to where I can go get the
Right.
ball. So it doesn't really. So I tell all the guys, I was like, y'all listen, y'all are helping me when y'all shoot the ball. If you don't shoot the ball, y'all not helping me. So shoot the ball.
I like that. I like that. Do you like an offensive rebound? I never asked anybody about this, but you're the perfect guy to ask. Do you like an offensive rebound better or a defensive rebound better?
I would say a defensive rebound. I would say I would say offensive because only because it's funny when I be playing when I be in the game. Sometimes I be so in tune, and then sometimes I get to a point to where I just be like, let's see what the scouting report. And so like when my teammates shoot the ball, it's like I just see like 4 guys just point their eyes right at me, and I be like this. Okay, yeah, they're talking about going to hit that guy. So I just be like this. All
Yeah.
right, bet now I gotta get in that mode to where like I gotta
Mhm.
juke them out or be a little more physical, swim move on them and things like
Mhm.
that. So it's real fun.
Well, you got some pass rusher moves, man.
Yes,
You're like
sir.
a DN in football. Yeah, I was gonna say if I had to answer that question, I would say offensive rebound too, because I feel like when you get those extra possessions,
Hmm.
right? I think that is a huge difference sometimes. When you look at the end of the game and you're like, how the heck did that team get 12 more shots? And then you realize, well, they had 16 offensive rebounds and the other
Right.
team only had 7. Uh, Tell me about Coach Brian Hodgson off the court. We ask so much when I have these interviews, and I try to ask questions that a lot of people don't ask. What is it like? What is it like on non-game days with Coach Brian Hodgson? How does he treat you guys? What is that relationship like? Because obviously you've been with him at a couple of stops now, and we talk so much about practice days and game days, but you spend more time with these guys than your family. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, what is Coach Brian Hodgson like? Because he's a fan favorite in year one here. People love what he's been able to do. He said he was going to bring an entertaining brand of basketball here to the home of hoops here in the Bay, and he certainly has done that. But what about Coach Brian Hodgson, kind of like the person, like TV, radio, music? Like, what do you guys talk about outside of the basketball stuff?
Man, I can't even start, man. Coach, outside of basketball, man, he's a great guy. Like, if you really think about it, like they say, like, you want your coach to be your, like, one of your best friends or one of your close friends after like 5 to 10 years, and like that's what he is, like, outside of basketball. He's like one of your friends. Like, we're not even talking about basketball. Like, he's asking us like everything's good, like school's good. Like, he's asking like Jen, like, how are we doing, like how our family's doing. So he's like that coach when he needs to be the coach. Then he's like also like that father figure, because it's like some of us are far from home, and sometimes we can't go back to see our family as much. So it's like we only got him, and so like he's a great guy, and he comforts us, and we all be in the gym. So it's like he has all the coaching staff in the gym. So it's like on an off day, we'll come to the gym, and so he'll just be in there in the gym, and he'll joke around with us while we're shooting. He'll be like those fans in the crowds like, you ain't gonna make that shot, and then you in there making the shots and things like that. So it's great being not playing basketball with Coach B around.
What about you as far as getting ready for game day? What are you a music guy? Are you a silent guy? Like, what are you doing as you're getting ready for the game? And if you are a music guy, what kind of music you listen to get ready?
I would say I'm like a meditation. I meditate, so like probably before like 2-3 hours before the game, I meditate, and then I pray, and I made a so I lost my grandpa passed away my freshman year at Arkansas State, and I almost didn't want to play basketball anymore after he passed away. I just wanted to stay home with my family, and my mom had told me, my mom was like, hey, like he wouldn't want you to do that. He would want you to continue to play basketball because like that's what you love. So like go out there and do it for him. And then my grandpa also told me, like, I'm the last generation of Nelson, and so since he wanted me to make the last name Nelson great, and so like I just pray to him and tell him like before every single game, like, hey, I'm gonna go out here. It's that time again for me to make you proud and make the last name Nelson great. And so I always say like that's what I'm gonna do, and I continue to do that.
I love that, man. Yeah, my grandfather was a big part of my upbringing as well. He lived in Connecticut and come down to New York and visit me every once in a while, and he was the guy that got me into sports. He said, "Don't hate on anybody that likes a different sport, because you could be a millionaire or you could win Olympic gold medal." And he was just very smart about it. And he used to write me these letters, and he wrote me a letter when I was 9 years old, and I didn't find it until I was 39, 30 years later. And he said, "You know what? You love sports. Maybe you'll be a sports broadcaster one day." And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like I got shook, man. I got like, whoa, like I read it 30 years after that. I never knew that, never read it, never thought about it. And I've been a sports broadcaster for 12 years, man. The world works in mysterious ways, and the way that the good Lord and your family, like you just never know, man, if your heart's in the right place. All right, let me ask you some fun stuff about the team. Who's the funniest guy on the team? Who's cracking jokes? Who's keeping everybody light?
Gavin Hightower, man, young freshman. Yep. Hey, he is hilarious. He will like, it don't matter what time it is. It could be 6 a.m. Gavin's coming in the locker room, cracking jokes. Everybody's in there laughing, crying.
I love that. If your car breaks down on the way home from practice, who are you calling? Who's picking
I'll probably call Joe. Me and Joe, since he came over from Arkansas State, we're also roommates, and so like he'll be the first guy I call. If it's not Joe, I'll probably call Devin Hayes.
Yeah, that's a big name. A lot of people keep saying he's very reliable. What's your favorite part about living in Tampa?
I would say the weather. But the weather
Not
has
right now.
listen,
Not this
listen.
week.
This weather out here, they told me before I came out here that it ain't gonna never get cold. This and
They
that.
lied to you. They
There's been
lied
a
to you,
couple
Zay.
times I've been wearing a puffer jacket out here, and I was like, so hey, this ain't right. But I would say the community out here is loving. It's very like it's like the fans they love them some Tampa Bay USF basketball,
Mhm.
and it's just like it's just so amazing to see how they come out and support every single game, screaming, yelling, and
Mhm.
so it's just like I gotta say the community.
The puffer jacket. I'm thinking about my North Face that I used to wear all the time growing up.
Yep.
I don't even bring it here. I keep it at my parents' house in New York. I want to ask you about that too, like the relationship with the student body, the relationship with the other teams, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like I see players of different teams going to different games. Like you'll see
hmm
baseball players at basketball and basketball at football. Like, I mean, some people may talk about that, but it doesn't seem like it's real and it's true. But it seems like there is a tight knit bond with the student athletes at USF.
Yeah, coming here like it was crazy because I didn't think like some athletes at some schools like you never get to see these athletes, but it's
Right.
like where at USF is we all athletes are literally in the same place, and it's like when you're walking around, you're seeing the baseball team, the women's soccer team, the women's volleyball team, the men's football team, and you're seeing all these different sports, and you're like sometimes you'll come by like, oh hey, how y'all doing? Oh hey, what's
Mhm.
going on? Hey, how you doing? What sport you play and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
then seeing them at coming to the games is like, hey, like appreciate y'all. Like we'll go to theirs and they'll come to ours. So it's like mutual support.
I love that. All right, before I let you go, and I'll probably be at the game Sunday. I might actually go as a fan. I haven't been as a fan as forever. I'm usually covering the game in some crazy colored shoes. I might have to wear some
Mm,
crazy colored sneakers
okay,
on
okay.
Sunday. You know my style, man. You know how I roll. What's the message to Bulls Nation, man? What's the goal for you guys over these next, like I said, to start this off? Coach wanted you guys to peak at this right time, and you guys are flowing right now. The hustle and flow looks really good. 6 wins in a row. What's the goal over these next couple of weeks, and what's the message to Bulls Nation?
Just we just got to keep our heads down. Like this is what they got us here. Wanted us to come here for to bring them back a championship and make it to March Madness for them. And so like the team is dedicated. Coach been talking about telling us to sacrifice something for 20 days, and you'll change your life, and we'll be able to come back to Tampa Bay and like show our kids and our families like, hey, like your dad did that. Like that's what
Mhm.
your dad did. Brought these championships to Tampa and changed the University of South Florida. And so we just go keep our head down, not let the win streak get into any of our heads, not let this number one placement get to in our heads. And so we just go keep staying down and grinding and pounding the stone every day.
USF's monster in the middle. This guy wakes up, rolls out of bed, double machine. Izaiyah Nelson. Zay, you're the man. I appreciate it. Continued success, my man, and I'll see you on Sunday at the YC. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, you got it. Man, what a phenomenal young man, and what a leader on and off the court for the Bulls. We absolutely love him. Joe Garcia, Bulls definitely going to surprise some people in March. USF will be my Cinderella story if they make it. Robert Cochran, our guy. Robert's here. We got the doc will be on in a minute and a half. Robert, we want to hear about your finger injury. Robert sustained a finger injury, doc. We'll talk about that in a minute. What an awesome mentality to have. We need more of Nelson's at USF, no doubt about it. And I think it's just the entire crew, man. The entire crew. We love what we love what Coach Brian Hodgson has been able to do with this team. You see a test like last night against a team like Rice, who hasn't had the greatest year. Are you going to go out there and lay an egg? No, sirree, Bob. They go out there, they play their tails off, they don't back down. I just very, very impressed. Very, very impressed of what I've seen so far. Go usfbulls.com. Go get you some tickets. Pack the YC every single time you can, but especially Sunday at noon against Tulane. They have an opportunity to do some big things. Again, that time we were there for Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim and Michael Kelly when they were able to clinch the American, it was just a very special moment. And man, I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what these guys can do going forward because they're dangerous, and you're starting to hear it more and more and more from different people around the country. What about USF? Watch out for USF. They do not mess around. That is a dangerous team come March Madness because they can rebound the basketball. They can shoot it. It's just, I wouldn't want to play them. What I do want to do is talk to this young man right here. It's time for the Ever Health Injury Report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Doc, what's going on, buddy? We missed you last week.
I know. I'm sorry. I was out on a conference.
Right.
I had to travel to a medical education conference. So
thank
you for having me.
Yeah, man. You look good today, buddy. I like the shirt and tie. You're looking sharp as a tack, my friend.
Thank you.
Lightning game last night, man, was freaking nuts. I mean, those guys haven't played for a while. I mean, they still did great. But it's interesting to watch them play because the last 5 minutes, it was like those guys were almost ready to go home. Professional athletes, man, if they're not in the groove, right, it could look a little funky for a game or two, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did get quite interesting in those last 5 minutes with when they took the man advantage and they had the empty net hit the post. I mean, and then they score right back. It's like, oh boy, where are we going with this?
I felt so bad for Jake Gensel because he misses that shot, hits the post, they come back down and they score, and Jake put his hand over his head. He was so mad, and he's a guy that is just one of those people that doesn't really show that much emotion like that, but he certainly did there. All right, I wanted to start off, Doc. I wanted to ask you about Mike Evans because Mike Evans is listen, he's a legend. Mike Evans is a legend here in the Tampa Bay area. And one of the things that you and I have talked about is his litany of hamstring injuries,
right? And
why that happens and how long he's been out. And when we're talking about Mike Evans and his future, I think a lot of people have always thought, all right, well, if you are susceptible to those hamstring injuries, you don't want to go to a cold weather climate because it's tough for you to warm up. Now, there's other people saying, okay, well, maybe it's the opposite, spending time in the warmer weather and you get dehydrated. And that is what would lead to the hamstring injuries. I think this is the perfect question to ask you because there's a lot of speculation on both sides. Yeah. Does it have to do with the heat? Does it have to do with the cold? Does it have to do with the injury history? Learn us, as I like to say sometimes. Teach us, Doc. Give us some insight on Mike Evans, the hamstring injuries, and if it's more, are you more susceptible to get hurt warm weather, cold weather, or is it just individual?
So the answer to the weather is actually weather does not affect the incidence of hamstring injuries. There was actually a study done across football, basketball, across seasons, different sports that showed that really weather-wise, it made no difference. The risk factors are really having a previous injury is the biggest risk factor. Older age is another of those large risk factors. Hamstring strains usually happen in what we call an eccentric muscle injury, meaning the muscle is trying to contract as it is being stretched. So if you're looking at the running stance, it happens as your leg stretches forward, your hamstring is being stretched by the quad, but it has to fire to prevent the leg from hyperextending. So basically, that's when the hamstring injuries will happen. So the speed of running has to do with it. So if you're in a sprint, in a full-out sprint, that can cause a risk for an injury. Fatigue is actually a factor. So maybe if you're in warm weather, you're not well hydrated, you're fatigued, you're dehydrated, that can certainly contribute to it. But it's really the fact that you're dehydrated and fatigued that contributes to it rather than the weather itself as a contributor. And then strength imbalances. So neither of those risk factors really has to do with cold or hot weather. But certainly if you're dehydrated, if you're if you're really fatigued, which will happen more in a warmer climate, that may put you at a little bit of a higher risk situation. But as far as the weather itself, no, it does not have an effect on hamstring injuries.
So what you're saying is that it's more of the reason why he's more susceptible to these injuries is because he has a history of them, rather than what the weather is and the dehydration. I mean, dehydration would certainly, right? And I don't want to speak out of turn here. So dehydration could play a part, but Doc, these guys hydrate, and he's from Texas. He works out in Texas. I mean, he works out in Florida. I mean, it's not like they're playing in the dead of summer either, right? I mean, that's the thing. Right. It's not like they're playing in 100-degree heat. And I know it does get hot on the football field, especially early in the season, and dehydration could add to it. So I guess if you had to go one or the other, I guess you would say maybe the hot would be a little bit more, I don't want to say dangerous, but you might be a little
Right.
bit more susceptible in the heat. But at the end of the day, it's more about the injury history and the
Right.
age, right?
Correct. So yes, as you mentioned, so being in a warmer climate can make you more prone to dehydration, fatigue, which certainly can contribute to the injury. But when you look at the larger picture, what the biggest risk factors are, which are a prior injury, old age, instability of the muscles or muscle imbalances, or the speed of running, a sprint, a full out sprint, those are really the biggest risk factors. And none of that really has to do with the weather.
That's good stuff, Doc. I know this is one of those things where people have been wondering, and you go back to the old days of like, oh, you got to warm up, you got to warm, especially in the cold weather. Because I know, especially for me, when I was younger, it was like you had to really, really stretch. You had to really get warmed up. And what injuries then would be more, what injuries would you be more susceptible to have in the colder weather than if it wasn't hamstring?
So they're really exposure injuries. So like
Okay.
things like frostbite, right? Or having a cold burn. That would certainly be more of a cold weather related type injury. I mean, as you're mentioning, it's the stretching part. Yes, you got to make sure you're stretched. Maybe you need a little longer period of stretching, warming up that you would in warm weather in order to prepare yourself for the game or prepare yourself for participation. So that may be the one thing that maybe there's an influence there in the cold weather is maybe the amount of time that you spend stretching and the amount of time you spend warming up to be game ready. But really, the cold weather is really the weather exposure more than anything else when it comes to the effects that cold weather may have on performance.
Doc, the Olympics were just such an incredible series of events there, and Team USA coming home with the gold. And a lot of people were wondering about Sidney Crosby's availability, the captain for Team Canada, the captain for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we know now that he's going on IR. And it's just people are asking like, well, would it have been different with Crosby? It may have. But that injury, you have to think if he's on IR now and he wasn't able to go on what could be his final Olympics, it was probably, probably dang near impossible for him to be able to suit up against the U.S.
Yeah. And looking at the game, and this happened in the quarterfinal against Czechia, looking at the injury, it happened on when he got taken to the ground by the player. And if you look at his knee, it actually buckled in a similar manner as Braden Point's knee did. So after he gets back up, he gets checked to get against the glass. The injury was already there. I think he was trying to skate and figured, no, it's just hurting too much. So it's reported that it is a knee injury, a lower extremity injury. My feeling and looking at the video and having watched the game was that he sprained his MCL just like Braden did. Yeah. So with an MCL sprain, it's time more than anything else. Most of these injuries are not significant as far as a tear. They don't require surgery. We saw Braden playing last night, so he took the time. He missed the Olympics. He was able to come back, and he looked great last night. So again, about a 30-day time frame when it comes to recovery. So I expect Crosby to be back by the end of the month, skating again without any problems.
Yeah, Braden Point looked phenomenal last night. He looked like he was just itching to get back out there. I don't know if we talked about the Anthony Cirelli injury with the shoulder. I think we did a couple of weeks ago. He took that hit in Boston in the outdoor game. For a shoulder injury to keep you out, and the reason why I brought this up out of nowhere because it just came to my mind is when you're talking about you said possibly a AC joint possibly.
AC joint.
And some people were talking about last night at the game about a nerve. I didn't, and I'd never heard anything about the nerve. If it was something like that, and again, he's back skating again. He didn't have a red no contact jersey on. The nerves are one of those things where it's not as easy to diagnose, is it, Doc?
So when we're looking at a nerve injury on our shoulder, we're usually looking at a stinger. That's usually the main injury. So, and you've heard of stingers. So usually what happens is your neck muscles get stretched away. Your nerves travel from your neck down basically the front here around your shoulder. So a stretch injury like that causes the nerve to get hurt and they get stretched out. There's no damage to the pathway of the nerve or the function of the nerve, but temporarily there's a halt in the transmission. So that's why people get the tingling sensation, maybe some temporary weakness. It depends on the level and the degree, the amount of time that it takes to recover from that. It could be minutes, could be
Mhm.
hours. Sometimes it can be a couple of days. So I look at it as you have an electrical wire. The injury happened to the sheath or the lining of the wire,
Mhm.
not the wire itself. And it's just a matter of time before that transmission keeps going without any
Right.
problems. And then they're back to having the sensation, the feeling, the strength on that arm.
But it wouldn't be weeks, like, right? I mean, from what Anthony
In
Shirley
some
was in for having to
in
miss
some
the
rare
Olympics.
cases, yeah.
Yeah.
In some rare cases, it can. It depends on the extent of the injury because the player can continue to experience some weakness and tingling and numbness, and that sometimes can last days. It's rare,
Yeah.
but it can happen. The majority of time, people recover usually within minutes to hours.
I know Robert Cochran, our guy from Oklahoma City. Don't forget about me, Jay. Remind us your injury, Robert. He hurt his finger, and he's like, "We got to ask Doc when he comes on the show next week." I said, "I got you, buddy. I got you." Mikko Rantanen is another guy that is out for the Dallas Stars, and it's tough. It's the risk, right, Doc? I mean, you have these guys that go play in for their country, and Mikko, a huge part of Finland. What do we know about his injury?
So he has a left labral shoulder injury again, and he had surgery on it. He has been dealing with this injury for a while. So I hopefully it's not a re-tear of the injury that he had before that he had surgery for. So if it's just a small injury to the labrum, it should be a couple of months. If it's another labral tear, labral injury, then you're looking at does he need surgery again to repair it? In which case, then you're looking at 6 to 9 months of recovery.
Oh man, unbelievable. All right, here's Robert. Torn extensor tendon in his pinky. What are you doing, Robert? Okay. What did he do? So how long is Robert going to be out? He can't be playing hoops.
So it depends on where the tear is at. So your extensor tendon on your finger has two attachments. One attachment here on the first joint, and then another attachment on the distal joint. So if it tears on the distal joint, it's what we would call a mallet finger. So the finger essentially looks
mallet finger. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually the treatment for that, if that's where it tore, you put the person on a splint. The splints usually wore from anywhere from 12 to 12 weeks. You cannot remove it because if you remove it, it starts the timer again because it has to be kept in extension so the tendon can heal again back to the bone. Right. If it's an injury on the proximal side of the tendon, you get an injury that looks like this. We call a boutonniere deformity, where the finger bends basically at the first joint here, your finger. Similar treatment, usually about 12 to 14 weeks in a splint to keep it straight to allow the tendon to reheal to the bone. It's a lot different than if you tear your flexor tendon, what we call a jersey finger. Your flexor tendon, if it tears, it goes back and goes into the hand. So usually with that, you need surgery because we need to bring the tendon back to the finger. But usually with the extensor side, since it's got multiple attachments, the tendon doesn't retract away. It remains near the vicinity of the bone. So you just got to give it time to heal.
Wow, Doc, and thank you for answering that. I got to ask you this, and this is about myself. I think I had that. Can you ever go back and change it? Can you ever go back? Go ahead.
Yeah, once you've developed it and say you didn't get it treated or the splint wasn't there and you have that deformity and it's going to be like that.
It's like part of my personality now. It really is.
That's a mallet finger.
That's so crazy because my friend Aaron Jacobson on WDAE, they used to make fun of him because of his mallet finger, and my pinky hurt. So what happened was, and ironically, I can't believe this is happening right now. We're talking about this. So I went to college in upstate New York, Western New York, SUNY Oswego, and I was playing hockey on a tennis court, and it was me and another guy and a goalie. And then on the other end, there was two guys, and they were a goalie, and they were Canadian, and we were American, and we went USA versus Canada, and we ended up winning 2-1. But I went to turn. Like as I was turning, like going to get the puck in the corner, and I went to turn, and I wasn't wearing gloves because we were outside, and the stick was in my hand, and my whole body came down on my hand, and it was Doc. It was like 2 degrees outside, so I couldn't feel it, and I was in college, right? So you're like, I'm not going to the doctor for this, right? And all of a sudden, we went inside. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, my finger was like the size of these two fingers. But I kind of dealt with it, and I was just like, well, and I'm okay. And then when I started playing baseball or softball after that, it really hurt for like 6 months every single time like I'd catch the ball. And then like now it doesn't hurt anymore. Like it just kind of, I guess it just kind of got used to it. So the only way I couldn't fix this unless I actually went in and got surgery, but that would just be purely cosmetic now, right, Doc?
Correct. Because functional mean you can bend your finger, you can grab things, you can grip things. It's just the fact that that portion of the finger doesn't go all the way straight. So from a functional perspective, it's fine. I mean, if you look at most basketball players, because usually this is a very common injury in basketball, the ball jams your finger and basically tears the tendon right there. If you look at basketball players that were in the league for a long time and you look at their fingers, most of their fingers have mild deformities.
Yeah.
So it happens. Yeah.
My buddy Ian Beckles, who I host the show with on Wednesdays, he's a former offensive lineman for the Buccaneers, and his hands all of his fingers are like that. Like it's pretty wild. I wanted to ask you this. My friend Marissa, she does eyelashes up in North Carolina. Love hearing about the nerve damage. I get the tingles of numbness in my arm and my hand. She does eyelashes and mini tattoos and things like that. And I think anything that you're working every single day with your hands like that, you're going to be susceptible to something like that, right, Doc?
Well, I mean, when you're having numbness and tingling in your hands and fingers when you're doing that kind of work, I'm thinking more you have carpal tunnel syndrome.
Okay.
Because that can cause numbness, tingling in the hand, especially when you're active and doing things. That would be a little more common than a stinger, where that kind of the whole arm goes in temporarily. When you're looking at work activities or sports activities or any kind of activity where you're using your hands a lot and they start going numb, especially these first 4 fingers here, you got to start thinking about carpal tunnel. So it's the nerve getting compressed by the tendons inside the wrist here, and then that causing numbness in the hand and fingers.
I remember growing up, carpal tunnel was associated with bank tellers because they were always counting out money all day. I always found out that was so weird. And then as you get older, you realize there's a lot of different things that you doing with your hands as well. So that's good. I love how we go on tangents sometimes here on the segment. What do we know about James Harden, Cleveland Cavaliers guard? I mean, obviously Cleveland, one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and now he's got a crack somewhere, doesn't he?
So in the bone at the end of his thumb, in his non-shooting hand, so he has a fracture in the bone at the end of the thumb. So it's not a major injury. One is not his non-shooting hand, so it shouldn't really affect the grip of the ball and the follow through and everything that he does as far as that injury is concerned. He wants to play through it, which I think would be fine as long as he's wearing a splint or as long as he's wearing some sort of protection into the thumb. He'll heal well. I think he missed the game last night, probably because of swelling and pain more than anything else. If you look at the history of this injury in the NBA and in basketball, historically, players may miss a couple of weeks if they want to really allow it to heal up and the pain go away and the swelling to go down. So usually you miss about 6-7 games or so when it comes to the NBA and this type of injury. I expect him maybe to miss maybe about a week, just to allow the pain and swelling to go down. And otherwise, he'll probably be playing with some sort of a splint or protection so the bone doesn't get re-injured. But essentially, with a non-shooting hand, this is a very minor concern, a minor injury.
You know, we were just talking about the mallet fingers, and it's one season I was playing and I went 11 from my first 11 at the plate, and then my 12th at bat I hit a line drive and the guy jumped up and caught it, and I came back to the dugout and everybody was kind of like joking around like, you finally got out, and then just messing around, I was like, I pretended like I was mad and I kicked a metal garbage can just joking around. And I feel like I think I broke my toe because I didn't get a hit for like the next 2 weeks after that. We talk about mallet fingers for the hands. Is there something similar to the toes, or is it different because you're walking on them all the time? Like, is there a similar injury to the?
Not a similar injury as far as a deformity that you would get from getting hit. More likely, usually what happens, you break the bone as you impact. The bone gets crushed and breaks. There's some acquired deformities on the toes, like hammer toes, that are very similar to what a boutonniere deformity would be on the finger, but those are more acquired over time, where the toes kind of start bending in more than anything else. Not really related to a sports type injury. But usually when you stub your toe like that, usually what happens, you break. The other big injury with a toe, especially the big toe, would be turf toe, which is more a hyperextension injury on the toe more than anything else.
And we've seen turf toe. I mean, at times people can play through it, then other times it knocks people out for a couple of weeks.
For a long
I know
time.
this is kind of going all off kilter here. I tried this thing a couple years ago where you put these pads underneath your feet and they were supposed to suck the toxins out. And then, you know, when you put them under your socks and then you wake up in the morning and they're like jet black and people are like, oh yeah, this is so great. And I'm just like, well, I feel like it's like a placebo. I didn't know if I really trusted it, Doc, because we do know the old school remedies of like put potatoes in your socks, put onions in your socks. That's going to make you feel better. What do you make of stuff like that when people, because I've heard for many years, you know, your feet have a lot to do with it, but as far as like the toxins coming out your feet into those pads, what do you think about that?
I mean, I've seen those. I've read about those. I really haven't. I really don't know that what toxins are being pulled out of your feet or through your skin. I mean, that really one thing that comes through our skin is sweat. So my question is there something on those pads that causes a chemical reaction with the sweat so they turn black? And makes you think that, there's some toxins being pulled out, but it's just maybe a reaction that the paper itself has to either the acidity of your skin or the sweat, and that's what turns it black.
Yeah, it didn't really do anything to me. It was like more of anything, like a sense of accomplishment. Like, look, it's doing something. And I was like, it's not really making me feel better though. So like, I didn't really understand that all that much. Doc, looking at another one of the big injuries, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. I mean, obviously one of the worst contracts in the history of sports, dealing with this Achilles injury. It's a weird thing. He's been dealing with it for a while now.
Right.
Do we have any idea if he's going to be able to play next year with this injury or what?
So that's a great question. So he suffered basically 2 Achilles tears. So he suffered the original Achilles tear week 7 of the 2024 season, came back, suffered another tear, which then he had surgery for that one in January of 25. So usually for most Achilles tendon injuries, initial injuries, you're looking at about a 9 to 12 month recovery time. But now this is a re-injury. So you're looking at least a 12-month recovery time, if not longer. So we're about almost 15 months out from the second surgery. He's been going through the protocols. He's been going through the training. He's doing quarterback-specific drills. And so far, so good. The question really becomes, how well is he going to be able to perform when it comes to taking off, running, quick takeoff? His confidence, right? Because mentally, you also always got to think of. I mean, I've gone through 2 tears. Is it going to be in the back of my head anytime I go to take off to run? Is it going to happen again? Right. So there's a psychological barrier also that comes with it when it comes to recovery from it. So if he continues to do well through training, I expect him to be there at the beginning of the season and try to work out and see if he can compete for his spot again. As for really his mental readiness and durability, I think that's where the uncertainty is. Is the tendon going to tear again, or how well is it going to be mentally prepared to deal with the fact that it could potentially happen again? Is he going to be playing with the fear of it happening again?
Doc, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, because I know you used to be a ringside physician too. When a guy, and I was watching some MMA fights last night, MMA knockouts, when a guy gets hit with a body shot and just absolutely freezes and everything shuts down, what is the actual like scientific medical thing that happens to your body? Because people talk about, oh, it's the liver shot, and you just see guys, they can't put up their hands, they can't defend themselves, and they crumple down and they can't move. What happens to your body in that moment that just completely shuts everything off?
So I wish I had a great answer for you, because as a boxing fan, I always look at that liver shot, you know, and the thing is, you see the person get hit and they're there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh,
they're not there.
They just collapse and they go down and they really can't get up. So there's something about being hit at the liver that causes some sort of a shock to the system. And I've never ever been hit in that area, but your legs really go out from under you, and it's a delayed reaction. So is it a vascular shock? I mean, there's a lot of vessels that travel through the liver. Is it a vascular shock? Because it's really, chemical-wise, there's not a chemical that the liver would release that would make your body just shut down. Is it a nerve type reaction? Is it on just like your shoulder stinger, where something gets hit in that area and there's a complete shutdown of the neurological system around the area? Possible, but to me, the best explanation is some sort of vascular reaction. Where getting hit there shuts down blood flow around the area, and that just causes the system to temporarily shut down until things get reestablished again. But I would tell you, it's one of my favorite boxing shots, the body shot. I mean, I remember Trinidad was an expert in that body shot, and gosh, I mean, you see it, and then you're just waiting for a minute, and boop, down they go.
Felix Tito Trinidad. That was a huge, huge name in boxing for me when I was growing up with all my friends, all the Puerto Ricans out there. They loved Trinidad, man. He was just unfreaking believable. So damn exciting. I always say, like, the 90s, man, they had such music, and when it came to boxing, it was just, now it's so different. Now we're going to see Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao again, Doc. I don't know how excited I am about that one, but it's just like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of those things, I mean, I love boxing, and I'm a big fan. But I think the one thing that has affected boxing is, as fans, we want to see the big names take the big fights when they're in their prime.
Exactly.
And it seems like that doesn't happen as often. The guys would walk away from the big fights, and then they come out and do them after retirement, or when it really doesn't mean a lot. And then we're like, but I wanted to see you fight 10 years ago, not now.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, the man, the myth, the legend, joins us every Thursday at 12:30. Lightning season ticket holder. He's a Bolt for life as well. Doc, you're the man. I appreciate you, my friend. We will talk to you next week. You're the best.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. My pleasure.
You got it. Thank you. That's what we talk about. We talk about everything on the show. Mike Evans. We talk about liver shots. I mean, you see some of those. Just go. It's a great video to watch. Like, if you go and you watch some of the body shot knockouts and the knockdowns in MMA and boxing, it's crazy because sometimes there's a little bit of a delayed reaction too. And all of a sudden, like, a guy doesn't put his hands up, like, put your hands up. And he's unbelievable, man. Doc is the best. Doc, you're the man. Thank you, brother. Have a great rest of your weekend. EveraHealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Go check them out at the High Point location. They are amazing. Again, EveraHealth.org, the EverHealth Institute. You can learn, if you want to work in the medical field. He is a guy that can, there's an example right there. You want to work with a guy like Dr. Rodriguez. He is such a nice dude. He's a phenomenal human being. And if you're one of those people that are looking for a change in your job, looking for a change in your career, that's the way to go. That is the way to go. EverHealth.org. They want to help you out from the cradle to the grave. They are just incredible. Also, my friend, Honest Hammer, I'm actually going to go meet up with him tomorrow. Go check out one of the new builds that they have there. He's just another great guy. You want a kitchen renovation, a bathroom renovation, you want to turn one of these big rooms in your house into something completely different, they can help you out. These custom builds, I went and checked out one of his custom builds a couple of months ago, and there was like a big, like, indoor, like, soccer room where the kids could play soccer. Nuts. And he's a Team Tampa Bay guy. He's a USF grad. He loves all the Tampa Bay sports fans, or Tampa Bay sports teams, just like you. So go check them out. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. TheHonestHammer.com. TheHonestHammer@gmail.com. My guy, Ryan Valdez, asked Dr. Rod about some rehab for hamate bone and hand tendon injuries. We just spoke about that a couple of weeks ago, so I didn't ask him there. And we were just talking about the different grips, guys having the knob of the bat in the middle of their hand. We'll talk to him about that next week as far as recovery goes. We talked more about the injury last time, but next time we'll definitely ask him about the recovery. And a big thank you to my guy, Rolly. Still the best segment in sports. Also, thanks to the birthday wishes last weekend, Jay, my guy, Lady Evil, Rolly in the house. Happy birthday, my friend. Hope it was rocking and rolling, because he is our rock and roll correspondent. We're not going to make you our whole music correspondent, Rolly. We're going to have you focus on the rock and roll, baby. because you never know. We might have a classical guy jump in, might have a hip hop guy break in, and then go from there. Bum, 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 bum. I broke my hammy bone and scaffold. Jeez, man. What's going on with you, man? You ain't no spring chicken anymore, Ryan Valdez. That's the way it goes. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, guys. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe as well on YouTube. Hope we got all those questions answered from the doc. He is the man. All right. So the Buccaneers coming up with the 2026 NFL draft. It's about a month away now. Would you be okay with the Buccaneers drafting an offensive player, an offensive skill player in the first round? I've seen Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, mocked to the Buccaneers. I've also seen guys like Jeremiah Love or some of these other offensive players. It better not be a freaking wide receiver, I'll tell you that much. But when I look at this team, I think, again, it would be a huge mistake if they drafted an offensive player in the first round. You need so many pieces defensively. You need linebackers. You need pass rushers. You need another corner or two. You need guys at all three levels. All three levels. So why, oh, why are we going to get into a situation where we're drafting, people say draft best player available. I think that's such a crock of shit. You don't draft the best player available. If that was the case and you had a quarterback and the best player on the board is a quarterback, are you drafting one in the first round? You're not. You're not. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. Emeka Egbuka is a good player. He's going to be a good player. But you're telling me that they couldn't have used a guy in a different spot, a pass rusher or a linebacker there in that spot last year instead of a wide receiver? And they didn't make the playoffs anyway. And people say, oh, well, if Mike leaves. Well, if Mike leaves this year, then you draft a wide receiver maybe higher up. But you would have already used those picks on defensive players. And maybe you have a different discussion now. And it's just a very strange proposition when it comes to Mike Evans and his future here. And I don't think you should be, stricken to drafting an offensive or defensive player just based on the future of Mike Evans. You still have Chris Godwin. You still have Emeka Egbuka. You still have Jalen McMillan. You still have Tej Johnson, who was at the Lightning game last night. You have to go all in on defense. We had this discussion last year with, who was it? Oh, God, I forgot who it was. John Ledyard. It was John Ledyard, our pal that used to work with Pew Report. And he said, Jay, they have to go all in on defense. They kind of did. I don't think you could say they went all in on defense if you draft Emeka Egbuka in the first round. They have to go all in on defense here. You got to find a way to rush the passer. If you want a defensive tackle, fine, get a defensive tackle. You need linebackers. You need some more corners. Jamel Dean's probably not coming back. You need to go all in on defense. Don't tell me you need this, you need that offensively. You'll be able to find a way to be able to get a more productive offense because you have a better play caller this year in Zach Robinson than you did last year with Josh Grizzard. Ryan says, what do you think, Jay? Trade a 1, a 3, and Godwin for Crosby? That's a lot, man. That's a lot. I think you got to go get a Max Crosby. I think you got to go get a guy. It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I want to see the Buccaneers be bold. I want to see them be bold and make a move. And you have to transform this defense. I think if you just kind of pussyfoot around and you just do these little minor moves on defense and you just think automatically things are going to get better, I just don't think that's realistic. You got to make some drastic moves. You got to make something happen here. Damn. This is not a team that's been able to draft and develop guys on that side of the football. If that's not the case, if that is the case, then do something different. Trade for a Max Crosby. Throw a bunch of resources at rotate guys in. It's funny, in years past, San Francisco and Philadelphia look like, oh, they had enough pass rushers. They don't need this guy. They don't need that guy. And they brought in even more and more and more. And they just kept going. And they kept going. It's almost like the feeling with the Rays, where it's like, well, it's just we're gonna operate within the margins, and we're gonna just do it just a little bit. You can't win like that, especially defensively. You have a defensive head coach. If you half-ass the fortification of your defense, Todd Bowles is as good as done. He's as good as done. He's out of there. Goodbye. Toodaloo. See ya. Bye-bye. That's it. And regardless of whether Todd Bowles is there or not, you need pieces. You need talent at all three levels. People are putting so much stock into Levante David coming back and Mike Evans coming back. Bro, you need so many more pieces than just those guys. But if you hit on it, you'll be right back in the mix. We've seen it before. We've seen teams in the National Football League have a really good draft and it completely changes everything. We saw it a couple of years. Remember, with the New Orleans Saints had that great, fantastic draft that one year. There's no reason why the Buccaneers can't do that. But it can't just be in the draft. It's got to be in free agency. It's got to be via the trade. You've got to do something. Don't just go into the season thinking, oh, whatever happens, happens, and maybe you're wishing upon a star. This isn't a Disney movie. This is real life. Show some urgency. All right. I want to talk about some of the things that ended up happening last night at Emily Arena, being at that game. And again, Tej Johnson was there. It was a good game to be at. It was a good game to be at. And it's funny because Phil Esposito came up to me after the first period, and he's like, hey, I got a bone to pick with you. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Is because I texted you on your birthday and said, hey, as an 84-year-old, you don't look a day over 83. I made myself laugh. And he goes, no, your video. Do you think that the U.S. was better than Canada? And I'm like, first off, you watch my video? Phil Esposito watches me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm very proud, very happy. And I said, Phil, it doesn't matter. Why does it matter? They had the best goalie. Connor Hellebuck won it. You can't just talk about it like it's two separate entities. The goalie's the part of the team. You can outplay somebody offensively, but if the goaltender is playing out of his mind, you're not going to win. That's just the name of the game. I didn't create the rules. So I don't apologize. I'd like to take the chance to apologize to absolutely nobody for any of my comments about Canada in the last couple of weeks. And I didn't say anything about, and I went back and watched a video again last night. I didn't say anything about them not being as good or who's better. I said, I don't want to hear people bitching about 3-on-3. That's my contention. You had the best three players in the game on the ice to win the gold medal, and you failed. You lost. Whose fault is that? Not mine. Not Team USA. That's on you. That is on you. Sorry. Not sorry. Richie in the house. Makes you wonder if the RB from Notre Dame is available at 15. Do we take him or pass or a D? Richie, there's no way in hell. A, one thing, he's going to be there at 15. And B, that the Buccaneers should draft a running back. You already have a starting running back in Bucky Irving. You need to get another running back. And I think Sean Tucker will come back as a restricted free agent. But great, you can score 28 points again, and you're still going to give up 40. This is why it's so funny, like when you talk about things like this, not just you, Richie, but everybody. Look at who made it to the Super Bowl last year. Everybody wants to be in a copycat league and talk about offense. Yet it was two defensive-minded coaches that led their team to the Super Bowl last year. You still have to be able to get a stop when you need to get a stop. That stuff didn't die. And now we're talking about getting a running back at 15. when you have more holes than a freaking slice of Swiss cheese on your defense, and we're talking about a running back? Are you nuts? Last year was asinine in itself, drafting Emeka Egbuka. Nobody really wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about why that was a bad move, because he did play well. But what are we talking about having luxury? You're not in a position where you can make luxury picks. Well, he's a good football player. You know who's not a good football player? 6 of the guys that you suited up on defense last year. That's crazy to me. You have multiple holes on the defensive side of the ball. You can get a running back in free agency. You can get an Algier. You can bring back Sean Tucker as a restricted free agent. You can go get a guy in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. Drafting a running back in the 1st round? Hell no. Hell no. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I've done shows with Ian Beckles for many, many years. The running back is not nearly as important as his offensive line. It's not close. You want to get a guy like Jeremiah Love. If you can't run the football because your game plan sucks and your offensive line sucks, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're saying, look how it turned out. Yeah, look how it turned out. They missed the playoffs. And he petered down the stretch. He didn't do anything in the second half of the year. Nothing. So we look at the front half of the season and he did well. Okay, but there's no saying that if you drafted a wide receiver later on in the draft and used that pick on a defensive player, that you wouldn't have the same results and the same outcome. And when he didn't do anything in the second half of the season, maybe a defensive player would have won that game against Miami, would have won that game against Carolina, when Emeka Egbuka was damn near invisible. So I don't think I said it on the show. We give too much credit and credence to these guys when they make decisions that don't work out. It doesn't mean I think Jason Light should be fired. It doesn't mean I think he's a bad GM. Same thing with Julian Brisbaugh and Eric Neander. But we're so like, I never want to be like Toronto media, how we'll talk about that in a second, or Philadelphia or New York, where everything's a controversy and you're just going to stir up shit all the time. I'm not like that, nor will I ever be like that. But I feel like too often we are just robots here in the Tampa Bay area. Everything Neander does is right. Everything Jason Light does is correct. Julian Brisbaugh is God. I believe everything he says. Like, come on, man. Come on. Think for yourself. Stop being sheep. This isn't politics. Call a spade a spade. Jason Light has done a good job as the GM. He's done terrible drafting pass rushers. Eric Neander and the crew, they've done a good job over their tenure the last couple of years. Not good enough. And I did feel better after talking to Chris Adams-Ball yesterday. But again, we're relying on guys in their early to mid-30s to either turn back the clock or have one good year. Like, you're not looking for a pattern of success. You're looking for stopgaps. You're looking for Band-Aids. And then you're sending Carson Williams down to AAA to start the year. And you're hoping that Taylor Walls can bat over his career average of 190. And Ben Williamson, if he was that good, why did the Seattle Mariners let him go and bring in Brendan Donovan? Like, that's the thing, man. It's like, why don't people think about things like this? Why don't they talk about things like this? I don't understand. It's just like we're brainwashed here sometimes in Tampa. Whatever they say is right. Like, think for yourself. Think for yourself. It doesn't mean you're always going to be right just because you think differently. I'm sure as hell aren't right all the time, and I'm fine with that. But I like to think about things in a different way. I like to look at things from a different perspective, a different point of view. I don't mind if I'm the contrarian. I don't do it on purpose. I don't want to be the contrarian all the time. That's not my goal. But shit, man, you can't possibly look at some of the things that happen here in sports and look it around and go, yeah, I'm okay with that. Or, yeah, that's the right decision. No, man, open your eyes, open your ears. Have a freaking clue. Doesn't make sense at all. All right, last night, Benchmark International Arena. Let's start with the daytime yesterday. Seeing Jake Gensel there. He didn't have to speak to us, but he did. it was a weird day at Benchmark. And it's kind of been weird for hockey in general. I mean, it's obviously some great things. I'm just getting sick and tired of living in a world where everybody wants to have this gotcha moment and they don't use context, and everybody always still wants to cancel people and denigrate people, and it's all it is all the time. And it's exhausting talking about it. I just don't understand. I mean, did you see the thing with Dylan Strome yesterday? NHL player goes to Disneyland, Disney World with his daughter, and people are hopping in there and just talking crap about him and his 2-year-old daughter. What is wrong with people? What is wrong? Everybody's talking about all these different things and linking him to all these, he was the NHL described him as the ultimate girl dad. And everybody is talking about him, not everybody, but all the people on there, just talking smack about Dylan Strome, saying these terrible things about him, and not knowing that he's not American. He's Canadian. NHL actually had to delete their posts because of all the negative comments. And I went back and I looked at it, and I'm just like, and people just, they'll delete their comment, or they'll act like it's no big deal. And it's just like, what the hell's wrong with people? It's okay. Fake outrage is fine. Fake outrage is fine. Why aren't we trying to find ways to be happy about shit? I don't get that at all. Cancel this person. This person's a piece of crap. This person's a piece of shit. It's just like, God damn, man. I wish there was more people like Hillary Knight, who spoke out when she was asked about the distasteful joke by Donald Trump. Donald Trump makes just an absolutely classless comment about the women when he's talking to the men's team. Oh, I guess we have to invite them too. Like, dude, that was just a shitty thing to say. Why would you say something like that? And the guys that are celebrating, they're in a jovial mood, they're happy, they're drinking, and then that happens, and it's just like there was an awkward laugh, awkward pause. It was just a weird thing. Not a moment of greatness for the fellas, but that doesn't wash away everything. And I love that Hillary Knight spoke about her genuine level of support and respect with the guys. And it was just a lapse. It was bad. It was distasteful. And you move on. And you move on. That's it. Don't focus on things like that. Again, you start analyzing the president, all of his comments about a different thing. That's a different conversation for a different day. But I'm not going to sit here and not have the story be the right story, which is the men and the women representing their country, the good and the bad, and being proud of doing so. Everybody wants to hold on to all this other shit. And it's just like, God, man, how crappy must your life be? Ugh. And then we read this last night. I just, again, unfreaking believable. Sun, Star, Toronto Star. This interview or this article, this has got to be the most popular article. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, somebody else put, the best case scenario. Okay, this has 2.7 million views on Twitter. 3,200 likes, 3,900 comments. All right. Publix no drip nasal spray works wonders. Bro, that's just how I sound, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about. That's how I sound. All right, so here. So This article, written by Damian Cox from the Toronto Star. Damian Cox of the Toronto Star says, Auston Matthews made his choice, seemingly putting Trump ahead of the Leafs. Now he's saying that the Toronto Maple Leafs should take the captaincy away from Auston Matthews and give it back to John Tavares. Are you nuts? What is wrong with you? I don't quite understand. He says, we get it. You're a proud American, but not a proud Torontonian, not even verbally supportive of the country that has given you the privilege of living and working here as a non-citizen for a decade. You saying things like that, why does he have to be, why can't he be proud of his country? Or I don't understand that. Answer me this question, Damian Cox of the Toronto Star. How come Auston Matthews showing pride for his country means that he's being disrespectful to Canada? How does that make any sense whatsoever? You're saying that he should be stripped of his captaincy? Are you drunk off of maple syrup? What are we even talking about right now? And you're going to blame his performance in the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning on Wednesday night? Did you watch that game? I did. I was there. It was not a Picasso. It was not clean. It was not crisp by anybody. The Lightning had 2 goals called back because of blatant offsides. Jake Gensel missed an open net and hit the post. Brandon Hagel didn't have any points. Neither did Jake Gensel. It was not a clean hockey game. So to sit there and blame Auston Matthews because he celebrated winning a gold medal, the first one in 46 years, does anybody realize how hypocritical this really is? Just a couple of days ago, there's people up in Toronto, people up in Canada saying, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal for the Americans and their fans because by Wednesday, they'll forget it all. By the end of the week, they'll be focusing on other sports. So what is it? Are we not patriotic enough? Or is our captain too patriotic? What's the deal here? I'm sick and tired of people north of the border writing these articles and saying these things on social media and on their platforms like they're the judge, the jury, and the executioner when it comes to the great state of hockey. I know it's your national sport. I understand that. But this is America. We love this freaking sport too. And there's a lot of good teams here, and there's a lot of good hockey players here too. Why aren't there more teams in Canada then? Riddle me that, Batman. How come a team north of the border hasn't won since 1993? 93. You want to blame Auston Matthews for the play of the Toronto Maple Leafs last night? Their defense is like a sieve. Going forward, offensively, they have talent. Let's not forget Andrei Vasilevsky was between the pipes last night either. It could have been a lot different in that game. But the defense of the Toronto Maple Leafs is hard. It's putrid. And it's kind of crazy to say that the Montreal Canadiens are in a lot better shape right now than the Toronto Maple Leafs. When a couple of years ago, everybody was telling me that they were the favorites to win the Stanley Cup when they had Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares, and they were so good. And they beat the Lightning in the first round of the playoffs. I remember that. Do you? The Toronto media, while there are some incredible people, and we saw some last night in Tampa, awesome guys. You have guys like this. A guy like this that is going to run somebody like Mitch Marner out of town. Mitch Marner, who would have done anything to help contribute to a win for the Toronto Maple Leafs, to be one of the guys to help you win a Stanley Cup for the first time since 1967. You want to talk about droughts? There's one right there. Marner, one of the best two-way players in the game. That's on the second line for Team Canada. A guy that ends up scoring a goal to advance you to the next round because of what he was able to do 3-on-3 in overtime. A guy who scored an overtime winner last year in the Four Nations, who's killing it for the Vegas Golden Knights. You ran that guy out of town. You're one of those people. A guy that wanted to stay. A guy that wanted to help be part of the solution and not the problem. This is uncalled for. It's one thing to say what you got to say about Auston Matthews. You think he needs to be playing better. But now you're challenging him because of his patriotism? He didn't have to be at morning skate yesterday. Neither did Hagel and Gensel. They weren't on the ice for morning skate. Auston Matthews was. Or I don't know if he was on the ice for morning skate, but he was in the building. He spoke, and he didn't have to. So congratulations. Congratulations. You got your pound of flesh. You have your subscriptions going up for the Toronto Star. You have 2 million views on Twitter. Wonderful. But this is your sport. And now you are playing a part in pushing yet another one of your generational stars out of town. And if you're Auston Matthews, do you blame him? Do you blame this kid? It wasn't his choice to give him the C. I don't know why they did it in the first place. You treated John Tavares like a cuckold. You cut this guy's, it was a public castration. You cut John Tavares' balls off in front of the entire nation and handed it to Auston Matthews. And now it's like, oh, we made the wrong decision. Nobody was saying that then. Hypocrites. Hypocrites. I'll defend Auston Matthews. I will. Captain America. Fine. They don't deserve you. They don't deserve you up there because they think they know better in Toronto. They do. They think they know better. You do. But it's been since 1967 since you've won a Stanley Cup. 1967. I was 18 years away from being born the last time you won a Stanley Cup. Wow. 1967. 59 years. 59. You know what's number 59? Jake Gensel. Gold medal. Freebird, bitch. Sour grapes, buddy. 1976. 1976. All right, our guy Ed Encina is going to join us here in a minute. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher here on the program. Ed was there last night doing a great job. Make sure you support local, support the Tampa Bay Times. You know, and it's sad too because you hear. Did you hear Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk and Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes defending Auston Matthews? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? They were defending him. Defending the guy. Because of all the unnecessary BS that he has to deal with up there in Toronto. They want him to step up, score 50 goals. He's done that. And again, if you're going to get mad at a guy for not scoring goals or something on the ice, that's one thing. But if you're going to tell me that you're supposed to strip the captaincy off of a guy because he's celebrating with his team and showing nationalism and patriotism when you have just been flaunting your patriotism and nationalism, I posted a freaking video about it that's got over 1 million views on social media platforms because of your blatant flaunting of your omnipotence in this sport. And now we have a guy that's just proud And that's a problem. Hypocritical, to say the least. To say the least. What teams were the scouts from at the game last night? I don't remember, David. I'll look at Saturday night, and I'll make sure I'll post them on social. What teams were the scouts from at the game last night? Also was interesting to see Bjorkstrand shoot more in the power play. They were trying. They were certainly trying. No doubt about it. So I think you're missing that. It's not that he's showing his patriotism. I think you're missing it, Richie. He is. He's the captain of America. And whatever your prerogative is, Richie, and I know it sounds like you're kind of anti this. And listen, this is America. You can feel free to feel how you want to feel. And he is showing his patriotism, and he is proud to represent the red, white, and blue. Sorry. And I know a lot of people want to lump that in with all the shortcomings of the president and why they don't like him. Again, that's your prerogative. They don't feel that way. They don't feel that way. And I don't have an issue with it. I really don't. I don't. The same thing as I don't have an issue with your beliefs. I just keep circling. Don't know what the hell's going on with YouTube. It just keeps circling. All right. Sorry, buddy. I don't have a problem with your beliefs. That's what you believe. I don't have a problem with believing in these guys being proud of our country. And I am proud of our country. Is it perfect? No. Is it growing? Yes. Is it getting better? In certain ways, maybe not. In certain ways, yes. This world looks a lot different than when my parents were my age and when my grandparents were my age. Just trying to get better, man. We're not a finished product. We have our warts. We have this belief that we should be some utopian nation with no issues whatsoever. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's realistic at all. I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and let, president where I don't necessarily believe with the things that he has to say, and the way he goes about his action prevent me from being proud of the people that went across the pond to Milan and left everything they had on the ice to make everybody proud. That's me. I don't stand with them either, but I stand with our country. That's for sure. Let's bring him in. Eddie Encina, the original Oos. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Look at the hat. What kind of hat you got on today? What is that?
It's an old school. It's a Vice Wave Miami Heat hat.
Oh God, that's rough. That's rough. Thanks for turning it back around. What kind of shirt is that? It's like Fashion Day with Ed Encina.
Oh, it's my Surf Wyoming shirt. I don't know if you know. We're unofficial brand ambassadors, Shannon and I.
Really?
No, they don't give us any money, but we rock their gear all the time. Nice. Ever since we went to probably about 8 years ago or so, we took a trip down to Yellowstone and we saw people with Surf Wyoming gear.
Okay.
I mean, like, you get the joke, right, Jay? You can't really surf in Wyoming.
Exactly. I do get the joke. Are you drinking Prime? Are you a Logan Paul guy? Are you in the Vision?
They need help, don't they?
Are you the Masked Man?
They need help right now. So
they need help. This guy Bronson Reed got jacked up the other night too. And that was the weirdest wrestling match I've seen in a long time. Jey Uso was pissed the entire time. It's just the way it goes, man. Where's Raleigh? Raleigh!
Right here. There he is. Right there.
Hey, bud. Did you run a race last week, Ed?
Did not run a race, no.
Oh, you walked the race.
We walked the race.
How long was the walk?
Does it matter, Jay?
No, I'm just saying that's all. I wouldn't do it. I'm saying
it was just a 5K. It was a 5K.
And how many miles is that?
Me and Raleigh did a walk. We did a dog walk. I don't even know what that was.
What's the 5K? How many miles is a 5K? Bro, I'm not hating. I wouldn't do
3.1, I think. 3.1.
There you go.
But that was
good for you, bro.
But Raleigh, my walk was not that long. It was just
Raleigh
right around the park.
Bro,
it was great because those other dogs and everything like that. It was, I think some of it was to benefit the rescue that Raleigh was adopted from, which is
nice.
Mercyful Project in Tampa, and so it was a good time. It's always great to get out when during the Gasparilla racing walk. What is it? Gasparilla all the races that they have. So
yeah, there you go. We got a special surprise for you today. No special surprises this week. We're gonna bring up another relative or anything, but we do have Shannon saying we had to scratch the 8K though, and Jennifer, a big Raleigh fan.
Well, yeah. So the 8K was right during the hockey game, so that was
can't do
tough.
that.
And it was running, and it was raining that day too. So
does Raleigh love Jen hockey more or Josh hockey more?
He loves them both.
Raleigh's like, I'm done with this conversation.
Right now, he's out. He's done with it.
I'm out with this. All right, listen.
But hey, we acknowledge Thaw 345, man. He says Miami Heat has cool collabs and cool merch in general. So there you go.
Thanks, Benny. I didn't want to talk about that, Benny.
What do you want to talk about, Jay?
What do you want to talk about? Let's talk some Lightning hockey last night in the game. Jake Gensel missing the empty net.
Yeah, he was kicking himself for that for sure.
Bro, I watched him the whole time when he scored. He was going to slam his stick, and then he slammed the gate closed. I didn't think it was like the cleanest game in the world, but Ed, 6 in a row. They're 21-1. This team just finds a way to win. It doesn't matter what it is, and they're so complimentary that they can defend at times. Vasi can bail them out at times, and then just they're moving the puck and they're just relentless. It's hard to put your finger on what they're best at. I just feel like that's why they've been able to win so many games.
Yeah, for sure. And, last night was one of those games that you always kind of worry about because obviously, there's a big long break. You've got a group of guys who've been practicing for a week, and then you've got another group of guys that have been, playing high intensity hockey, in the Olympics. And you don't, you never, it's kind of like when you come off a big road trip or, something like that. But, and I thought they were definitely rusty early on, obviously, they don't have their head coach too, obviously, because of John Cooper being away, after the death of his dad. So, I thought they were rusty at first. I thought that, Vasi made some huge saves. There's a lot of times he does early on to kind of keep the games going as the team kind of tries to find its footing. But I think the main thing, and I think Charles-Edouard Destou kind of put it well, is in terms of, for them, it's all about puck possession. And I think one big thing that they did was, making an in-game switch of putting Gage Gonsalves on the line with Point and Cooch and moving Hagel to the line with James and Gensel. And I think, that really worked out, not just for that point line, because I think they had 3 5-on-5 goals and looked really great out there once that change was made. But also, it's all about, I think a big part of their success has been, running, 4 lines deep. And I think, in a situation like that, you recognize that a switch like that can, really give you that kind of forward depth of the way you want to play, which is, puck possession hockey, and really keeping the opponent frustrated. Julian always talks about the term tough to play against, but I think when you have the puck on your stick, you're, establishing zone time in the offensive end, and you are frustrating an opponent, especially an opponent like Toronto, which will jump on your mistakes through the neutral zone and beyond the blue lines, but it also has that skill to make you pay. Vasi made a couple big saves on Nylander when he broke loose, so I think that's really been the key. And like I said, Destou I thought was the guy that maybe we got a little overshown there. And you got a guy who missed 5 or 6 games, before the break, and he was incredible at getting the puck out of the zone and just pushing it forward. And that play where Gonsalves scores, like it was just a beautiful hockey play. He gets it out of his own end. Gage gets it to Cooch. Cooch knows that everyone's coming towards him or looking at him at least. And Gage just kind of slips through by the blue line, gets the puck and slips through 2 defenders and scores. That's the kind of hockey that, a lot of times there's making plays and there's playing, good hockey. And I think that was a combination of both there. So, but they're so confident right now. They, winning breeds confidence. And at this point, they're a team that, like, no matter what situation they're in, Jay, they believe they're going to win. and that's the most dangerous thing until it's not, right? But so, big division games last night, you're gonna have a big one. I mean, obviously Carolina is not a division opponent, but you're still, you're battling them for a number 1 seed in some ways. And at this point at least, and obviously a big game against Buffalo. We talked about the gauntlet, 27 games in 50 days, and it doesn't get any easier after that when they hit the road.
Is it fair to say that Charles-Edouard Dastou is one of the best players on this team?
He does so much, and
you know what I'm saying, right? Because on a team littered with stars and future Hall of Famers, I don't know if he's had a bad game all year. He just makes, and he is not one of those defensemen where it's, if you don't notice, like an offensive lineman in football, if you don't notice him, he's playing well. You notice him. He makes really, really smart heads up play. He's a fantastic passer. He's not afraid to get physical. He'll chip in with some points. I do think, Ed, I think he's one of the best players on this team, which is kind of wild to say because I don't know if anybody thought he was going to be a big time contributor going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, even when we saw him in camp, he was noticeable, right? He was a player that you're like, oh, this might be a guy that they call up when someone gets banged up or something like that. But by no means did we predict the impact that he's made so far. And yeah, I mean, you're right. There are, we always talk about how sometimes with a defenseman, if he doesn't get noticed, it's a good thing. But Chucky has been just, with the puck on his stick, he can do amazing things, and it's not just beyond the blue line. It's this guy can make amazing breakout plays and passes, and it's amazing to see. And it's one of those things where I think the tough part is going to be they can't play 11-7 all for the rest of this season. And how do you spread out those minutes amongst these guys, because they all deserve to play. None of them can go down, I don't think. I mean, and even if Dastou could go down, he's not going down. So it's a benefit of riches with having these guys, and you never know you're one hit away from that depth being tested again. But even guys like Declan Carlisle, that guy's played amazing. It is just it's cliche, but these guys have had it's one thing to have a next man up mentality, but it's another thing to really play at such an elite level when you haven't, had that opportunity before. And, you can go from, all the way down that blue line from obviously Darren Radish, finally getting those big minutes. JJ Moser, I think we can talk for him for hours about, but I do think that he's become a better left shot defenseman from playing on his offside. I think you see the vision that he's shown and from 200-foot game, and he's just kind of tapping the surface of what he can do, and down to guys like like Dastou and Lilleberg and Crozier before he got hurt and Carlisle. We thought this team had that kind of defenseman depth, but that's so important in the postseason, man. It's so important in the postseason. It's so important down the stretch because those guys play big minutes and those guys play a physical game as we go down the stretch and into the postseason. So, but yeah, I don't think anyone would have thought that Chucky would have made the impact that he's made. And great story aside, just his backstory, but he's a guy who has fit in really well in the room, and that's not easy for necessarily for we know the Lightning have a welcoming room, right? But and we've talked about this before, it's not necessarily easy because when you look around that room, whether it's not cast upon you, but it's automatic to feel pressure to perform because you're around so many great players. And I think that's a intangible that Dastou has had from day one, is that I think he kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder, much like Darren Radish, and he just embraces the moment and doesn't really think about any of that pressure that might be maybe other guys might cast upon themselves. And I think that's really what's made him also a really great player so quickly in this lineup.
And I think too, you look at it with this team, he's a little older too, right? So I mean, his experience of not being bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and being 21 years old certainly helps as well.
For sure.
The one guy that continues to stick out like a sore thumb is Oliver Bjorkstrand. He just puck management doesn't do a great job. They have tried so much to help this guy. You could tell there's certain power plays where they're just like, every time you get it, shoot. Every time you get it, shoot. Every time you get it, shoot. There was a shift last night with Point Kucherov and him, and he looked kind of good, and then he missed the net by a country mile. And it was just like, I don't know, Ed. I don't know. I really like the guy, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's the glaring thing, and it just sticks out that he is playing. And I know there's going to be underlying analytics that are going to say, well, he's not playing as bad, and he's a solid player. And I'm not saying that he's not, but this is a guy that you're paying $5-6 million to, and he's playing on the fourth line, rotating in, and just playing on the power play. That doesn't compute to me. What would it? I don't want to say what would it take, but do you just hold on to him because you kind of know what you have in him, or do you try to move him knowing that there could be a piece that fits better, and knowing that he does carry a hefty cap hit?
Well, I mean, when you look at the dollar in, dollar out kind of situation that they're in, for the most part at the deadline, you're going to have to move someone. You're going to have to move a contract. Now, his play on the power play has had its ups and downs, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times when he scored big goals for them. I'm more concerned about his 5-on-5 play,
right,
in the role that he's in, right? And I honestly think he's a little bit miscast in that bottom,
Oh, of course.
And so then the question is, what's the best fit? Whether that's him as a player or if it's someone else that you can bring in that might fit that role better, And obviously, I've said this all along, is that it's going to be tough for the Lightning to move him internally in their own perspective, just because of what they've given up to get him, right?
Right.
Now, obviously he was a part of the Gord trade, that they gave up some big draft picks to get him last year at the trade deadline. But knowing Julian Breezeball and knowing the way that he thinks about not just this year, but the future, I mean, Oliver becomes a free agent at the end of the year, and you do look at it and say, does he fit us now?
Right.
And what we want to do and the kind of team we want to be. Again, when you look at some of the teams that won, going back to the Lightning Cup teams, it is very much about rolling those four lines and having, and I think right now, you saw yesterday, those top three lines, and we can just pencil in the Gord line at this point, right?
Yeah. Yep. Pencil in.
No one's messing with that line, and you have no reason to, and they are as close to the 2020-2021 Coleman, Gaudreau, Gord line that we can ask for in terms of being frustrating to play against, puck possession, all that stuff, creating chances. So then it's like, how do you make that fourth line better, but also make it what you want it to be in terms of identity, and also attach some weaknesses to it, attach some strengths to it or address some weaknesses, I guess I'm saying. I think Julian looks at that. We know Julian enough to know that he looks at where the strengths and weaknesses are. And when you look at this team right now, they're probably top 5, top 7 in many things. I don't know where they're ranked at the power play, but over the past, 2 months or so, they've been one of the better ones. 5-on-5, penalty kill, goals against, goals scored. They're all up there, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that obviously stands out that is a factor that I do think in some ways it does get overnoted sometimes is faceoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are a bottom in terms of faceoffs. They've been that all year. And that does affect the possession. And when you think about it, when we've asked these questions, we always get told by coaches is, it's not necessarily the guy in the dot. It's also the forwards around him, the other guys. And that is true. But if looking at the statistics, which is something that Julian does look at very deeply, that stands out. That is the one glaring, blemish if you want to look at this team statistically. So, and they lost a guy who I don't think he necessarily performed to what they wanted him to, but Jack Finley was that guy who they
Yeah.
tried to lean on at least at some points, in faceoffs, especially from the right hand side. So if you can move Oliver Bjorkstrand and get someone to take him, you might have to eat some money, and you're able to get in a fourth line center kind of player who is a face-off whiz, and can add a right, keep you with a right shot that Bjorkstrand has. It would, I think at the end of the day, the Lightning would go there. Again, because of the philosophy of it makes you good now, it makes you a better team, a tougher team to play against, a tougher out in the playoffs.
Right.
But then you do have the questions of what does the power play look like without him, because they've invested so much in him in that spot, right? I don't necessarily know who they would put in that left side spot. Is it a Brandon Hagel on his offside? Is it? Yeah. Do you look at it somewhere else? So a lot of different questions that you have to ask, but by no means, I think, again, Oliver's a great guy. We know that he's worked really hard to become the player that they believe he can be. I think it's a long enough time span right now to look at it, injury free, and look at it and say that it might not be working right now, especially in the 5-on-5. Right. I think the power plays. You're never going to get Steven Stamkos back there. And Darren Radish has added an element up top that has allowed this power play to groove, over the course of the past couple of months. Even maybe if Bjorkstrand isn't that threat on that left side. So
59.5% on the faceoff dot. This one guy, I don't know if he is on the trade block, but he probably should be. Auston Matthews, 59.5. I think the Lightning should look into trading for him. What do you think?
How much does Auston Matthews make? What's his contract look like?
I don't know. We're gonna have to trade you and Eric Erlinson and Chief and
I don't think
Phil.
that's enough money at all.
It might be Phil. Phil, you gotta send Phil over there too. Maybe they'll win a cup for once.
You think Phil's gonna go to Toronto?
Not gonna happen. You couldn't pay Phil enough money to go up there. I'm gonna ask him Saturday. What amount of money would it cost for you to go to Toronto? He'd say nothing.
Just to go to Toronto.
Just to go to Toronto.
Phil wouldn't go there in the playoffs. Past couple of years when they were in the playoffs there. Phil wasn't there.
He's crazy. I love him.
Love him.
What do we have up on Tampa Bay Times, my friends?
Well, some of the stuff we were just talking about, just kind of looking. This trade deadline's catching up, man. I mean,
that'll be here.
Told us when we talked to him is it's literally right around the corner here. So kind of looking at some of that stuff that we just talked about, delving into maybe some potential names that might fit, might not fit, but make a little bit of sense, I guess. And then next week, I've got a story just kind of on working talk to Darren Radish and some of the people around him, just kind of about we always talk about that shot that he has, but just kind of really taking a look at what makes it what it is, and nice. He's one of those guys who you sit down with Darren and he's like that too. He's not a spring chicken by any means. And with that comes experience, and it comes a lot of thoughtfulness about the game, about everything from, so hearing him break down his shot and where he learned it, and, everything from the flex of his stick to his blade. And, sometimes you compare it to a golf swing in some ways, Ratty's a big golf guy too.
Yeah, he is. So,
hearing him talk about it, you're like, it's pretty cool, especially when everyone gets kind of caught up in the speed and the numbers and everything like that. But that's one that I've had fun with. And Ratty's one of those guys that he always has time for you, and he's always want to break stuff down for you. So that was fun. And so those are a couple things. Obviously, they're going on the road, and I'm going to make a side trip. I'm not going to Minnesota or Winnipeg, but I'm going to make a side trip up north to Syracuse like I did last year before the Buffalo, to try to, maybe catch up with some of the guys there. Obviously, some of those guys having big years, like Connor Geeky and Peltier, guys like that. And it's always just good to get up there when you can, and when it's not, 2 feet of snow on the ground to, just kind of check in and see some of the player development stuff. They've got such a great operation up there in Syracuse that it's always cool to get. And he's always get some great stories out of it too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
they must be happy when you get up there.
When I get up there,
yeah.
I mean, like it's great. I mean,
taste of the big time, buddy. It's taste of the big time.
I mean, it's just good to see familiar faces and stuff like that. Like some of those guys you haven't seen since.
But you're Ed Encina, man. You're the cream of the crop, buddy.
They're like, what are you doing here? I think that's what Geeky said when I saw him last year. He was like, Ed, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So I just surprised him a little bit too. So
there you go. All right, what were we gonna say? Sorry.
One thing, I know we're talking about the hockey family. Josh Hockey, Jen Hockey, Sean Hockey, Shannon Hockey. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my father-in-law, John Dad Hockey, who is my guy as well. I just want to make sure that he knows that, because I don't know if he's watching or not, but I never know which members of the hockey family are watching.
Does he feel left out? Does John Dad Hockey feel left out?
I think sometimes, maybe a little bit.
Dad Hockey. Is that what you guys call him? John Dad Hockey?
Yeah, because like on the text threads, it's like everyone. It's like the sibling. It's like the kids and the in-laws. Right. So I call him John, but he's dad to them, so he's John Dad. And sometimes he's Dad John. So I don't know. I guess it's like who talks to who references him. But I just want to make sure that, because that's very important. And
it is.
I won't hear the end of it if
you stole his daughter away. So yes, you have to do that, buddy. John Dad Hockey, we love you. You're my favorite John Dad of all time. You're the best. You're the man, Ed. Thank you, guys. Everybody out there, support local, support our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. We said it last Friday with our guy Mark Topkin, and again, sending love to our guy Joey Knight and his family. Lost him way too soon. Just really, really sad. Just a good guy. He was just always one of those dudes that just always had a friendly hello and, hey, what's up? Hey, buddy. And he would just randomly text me about things that went on in the world. And he's just a good dude. And he's just one of the best guys, right, Ed? Like, he wasn't somebody that was trying to stir up some shit. He wasn't somebody that was bad mouthing other people. He was just kind of to himself. He was very quiet. He loved his Kiss. He loved his 80s hair metal. Yeah. Like, it just came out of nowhere on social media. I'm like, I remember the first time I saw them, I go, Joey, what the hell? Where did that come from? He's like, that's my thing, Jay. And this was like 10 years ago. And I was like, bro, that is so cool. I love to see the different, right? Like the different iterations of people, like what they're into. But again, we had Topper on last Friday. He was getting really choked up and gone too soon, right, buddy?
Yeah, Joey was so in this business you meet so many people who are, chasing clout and chasing whatever, right? And they want to be big guys and stuff like that. And Joey, I know this has been said numerous times, but like Joey's one of the most humble guys and really saw a true responsibility to what journalism really is in terms of telling stories. And he was an amazing dude. Like I feel like first off, there was this knowledge, right? And just how much he embraced every assignment he had. I first worked with Joey when we were all prep writers at the Times, and we were doing the Friday Night Rewind stuff. And, it was amazing. And I think one thing too, that doesn't go said enough is that how helpful he was to younger writers, whether that was people like me who were younger than him, or like some of the interns that we had at the Times who would end up working on preps. And when advice came from Joey, it meant something. It was different than I'm not saying it didn't mean something from anyone else, but it was it really meant a little bit more. And also too, like the impact that Joey made, not just from the stuff that he wrote and the person he was, but the people he covered. I mean, Shannon knew Joey from, Shannon covered Joey's games when she was a Tampa prep playing high school volleyball. So that's how far back Joey went. And no one ever really thought of Joey as we wish we had more than 57 years of Joey Knight. Yeah. But by no means did we even he almost seemed ageless in the sense that, he had been here so long and covering so many different things and having so many kind of impacts on so many people. But he just seemed ageless. And I think that's the tough part, is like, even as he got sick and everything like that, and we knew that, you know, he was taking a pretty dramatic turn recently. I think most of us always thought, like, it's Joey, you know,
Yeah.
like he's like, and we all saw how, you know, cancer really, you know, had the effect on him physically. But at the end of the day, I really thought that, you know, we all kind of thought, like, man, like, it's Joey, you know, like, he'll be around forever. And so I think that's the tough part, is like, we know, you know, I just wish we had more time with him, because he was such a bright light, not just for the Tampa Bay sports scene, but for anyone who kind of was in his orbit, and anyone who, and obviously he was he was really the heartbeat of our staff, because he did it all. And I think Topkin said, it's like, there'd be times when he'd do stories that we didn't want to do. You know, and Joey always ran at every story like it was the most important story in the world, no matter what it was. And I think that's like the big thing that I kind of took from him, was that, you know, you just approaching every single thing with just such, you know, responsibility to it, and also knowing, like, the effect that it has on the people that you cover and the people that you write about, and whether it's high schools or the pros, like, and Joey just was the consummate pro. So I just wish he was around longer.
Very well said, my friend. Yeah, and somebody like myself, who, you know, I cover high school baseball, I cover USF, and, you know, it's not the glitz and the glamour of covering the Buccaneers. You know, we know the NFL is king, but I always felt that, you know, when Joey would make those comments of like, oh man, that was really cool that you were doing this and cool that you were doing that. I mean, some people I had somebody tell me one time, like, oh yeah, they'll miss you at DAE. You know, who's going to talk about hockey and who's going to talk about soccer and college and high school baseball anymore? But Joey was never too cool for school.
Yeah.
You know, like, he knew that it was really important to cover those things and to shine that light on people like that, because it was important to them. Like, you may look down at something USF women's basketball, but to Jose Fernandez and the girls on that team and the dominance that they've had over the year, like, that's everything, and it's important, and it's important to say that it's important. And he never made light of any of the stories and any of the people that he covered. And I think in a world now where we're trying to be like, oh, that's everybody tries to put things beneath them, right? Like, he was never like that, and I wish more people were like that. I say that to my baseball players all the time. Don't be too cool to care. And now it's like, oh, if you care, it's uncool. Joey proved it to everybody that it was cool to care about things that maybe aren't the most popular things out there.
No, that's really well said, Jay. I know you got to go. It's like, the thing, you know, let's face it, like, what we provide as, like, reporters, like, all that can go away in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and someone else is there to do that, right? Someone else will come along to cover the Bucks or the Lightning or the Rays. Someone else will do that, you know. But it's really the impact that you make while doing that is it really stands out. And I think that's really what Joey did, you know. Like I said, just treating people with such respect, and never having a bad thing to say about anyone, you know. And in this business, that's hard to do. You know, we know that. You know, like, but he was just, I don't know. I could talk about him for a while, but he was an amazing dude.
Sure was. Just like you are, buddy. Shannon, she's okay too. And we love Raleigh as well, and the rest. And John Dad. We love you, John Dad. We love you, John Dad. We love you, John Dad. I said it 3 times. That should get you some brownie points there with the fam. The original Oos, Ed Encina, Tampa Bay Times, Ed in the Yard. Subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times today. Ed, you're the man. Throwing up the ones. You're the best. I'll see you on Saturday. See you on Saturday night. We'll talk next week.
For sure.
All right, buddy. The great Eddie Encina. Again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The best part of my job is not the games I cover, the athletes I cover. It's the people that we work with, Joey Knight and Ed Encina. two of the best. And Ed Encina and I, like, we've always knew of each other, and we went to lunch one time at Publix, and we kind of like really like got to know each other, and he's become one of my best friends in Tampa Bay sports media. Like, I'm getting choked up just talking about Ed, man. I love that guy. He's the man. He's a great husband. He loves his dog. He works his freaking ass off. And yeah, he's Ed's one of those guys that inspires me. He really does. He inspires me to do great things and to continue to bust my ass. And that's the thing. We have some incredible people here in the Tampa Bay area that just push you and motivate you, and they do great things, and they don't have to push other people down to lift themselves up, and they're there for you, and they're friends and they're colleagues. And I say that about Joey Knight, say that about Ed Encina, say that about a lot of people that we have on our show as well. All right, a big thank you to my good pal Ed Encina. A big thank you to Dr. Carlos Rodriguez and the monster in the middle for USF basketball, Izaiyah Nelson. What a show we have had for you today. A big thank you as well to Rolly for our $5 super chat. Couldn't do this without you. And, of course, our partners, Honest Hammer and Evara Health. All right, back on the program tomorrow, live at noon here from the home studios. The only guy we have locked in right now is Paulie Russo, the head coach of Tampa Catholic Baseball. We're going to have a high school baseball guy on every single Friday, probably. We did Miguel Menendez and Jesuit last week. We have Paulie Russo from Tampa Catholic on tomorrow. I'll probably be at the game tonight. I think they play Indian Rocks Christian, if I'm not mistaken. Go usfbulls.com for your tickets. Make sure you pack the YC on Sunday. Yeah, I got practice tonight. Got to get my oil changed. Got to do some human stuff as well. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. You guys are the best. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.